I'd like to welcome everybody to the Richmond Amateur Radio Club June meeting. Welcome to all those here in person, and also everybody joining us via Zoom today. I think we have at least 6 participants. We might have picked up another. That might be 7 right there. So, do we have any visitors? No visitors. And let's do invitations. I mean, not introductions. We'll do. I'll start. I'm Darryl, WW4F, and we'll start with Alex.
General, I appreciate your time, obviously, you joined us as well from Tel Aviv this evening or in the early hours of Saturday. We understand there's been
Steve, W4 John, KC4WT, John, WB4NH.
Thank you. Can you read the call signs on those that are joining us via Zoom tonight?
We have Bruce, W4BRU. We have Patrick Nolan. Patrick, I don't remember your call sign.
I just put it up there.
Yep, K4BKB. David, K04BEN. John Anderson, K4ZAK. Cooper, KND, KN4DFL. Tom, KI4TH. Another Tom, KG4BIZ.
So, Colonel, let me ask you in terms of
I think I got it. That's it.
Thank you, Kim. With the newsletter, we attach our meeting minutes from our past meeting, our May meeting. Does anybody have any corrections to those minutes?
You said the overwhelming majority of it, of course, are you able
Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So motion.
to tell the world how many
Anyone object?
military
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. Treasurer report.
Before I get to the treasury report, I'm gonna make one announcement. The second owl does not work tonight. But we will find out by next month and have it working. So if you need to say something, speak extremely loud so that you can hear it way up here, or come around to the front to the podium and talk. Okay, treasury report. We started the month with $16,147.22. We had 4 dues, $88 came in. But then we spent money. Bryant did a new brochure for classes. $82.45 for that. Win grant got $572.35 for a new power supply for the computer. I had to buy a new binder because the old binder got torn into 2 pieces. I spent a whopping $2.82 for the binder. For the $88 we got, we had to pay PayPal $5.04 for their fee. And we had to buy a new license for Zoom for another year at $167.90. $830.37 went out, leaving $15,404.85. So that's the treasurer's report. Any questions?
that means this had to happen this way at this time?
I I have 3 new members that came in. Jason Carlton, who does not have a license. Michael Watkins, K4 HOO, who's in advance. And Bill, I've got to honor your name if you're here. Rothenstein. Oh, what's in the back? That, something like that, does not have a license. I'm sorry for mispronouncing his name. Can I have a motion to accept these 3 members?
I do.
Second. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And we understand they are advancing all of these ways at the same time to annihilate us. And I just want you to imagine tonight if they have nuclear weapons. Imagine this attack on Tel Aviv, on Central.
Now it's time, I don't think it's really, we come to the next item on the agenda, is school update. The school is pretty much in a hiatus during the summer months.
Right.
The other thing could be talk a little bit about mentoring status. I don't know, Bruce McAllister, you're there. Did you want to come in and give us any updates there, Bruce?
Yes, the 5 ladies who made up the first group of, I love the name, Ham Radio Chicks, have now 2 new members joining them. So they're keeping it going, and we're having Tuesday night gatherings, usually on Zoom, and we're trying to connect by on a repeater, but with the 543 repeater was the only one with a strong enough signal to get to everybody. So we're not able to do much with that, but we're doing what we can. That's what I got that's all I got to report on that. Over.
Very good. Thank you, Bruce.
Obviously, sleepless nights for you. Appreciate you taking the time.
I don't think Win is here.
We'll talk about what the
To give us an update on he's away on, but this past week, everything worked just fine on Armin's net, so, and Bruce, is there anything to report on the remote station? Is that, as far as I know, that's up and running?
Yeah, but Ken and I are struggling with a problem with connecting to it to deal with the router and that sort of thing. We're in dialogue with the IT person who helps the church. We're trying to figure out what's going on. We got Jim involved a bit. I'm not sure we've figured all that out yet. We've got to take another whack at it next week.
Okay, very good. Thanks for all your efforts in keeping that, getting it going or keeping it going. RARC net activity. Anything new to?
No, we've got participation. We could use some more participation on all the nets. I do an 80-meter one on Monday night. Anybody's welcome, 3858. Tom does a 10-meter one on Wednesday night. We do a 6-meter on Sunday and Thursday. So anybody's welcome on any of these. Technician license folks can get on the 10-meter and the 6-meter. You don't have to have a general.
That's a great band for new camps.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're very, very informal and very relaxed. So if you can get on there and make all the mistakes you want to, it doesn't matter to us. Yeah, well, now with your D-Star, you gotta have some special equipment.
Yeah.
But, you know,
what are you seeing?
Very good. So yeah, that, just for all the new hams, I don't think I'm preaching to the choir here. For those new hams, that's a good way to, good entry into the club, start building relationships with the club membership is to just join, jump into one of the nets. Don't worry about mistakes.
yeah, just go on.
Just
Get in and say hi, give you a call.
jump in there. So there are any group activities planned coming up? Got field day. Field day is coming up at the end of the month, the last weekend. I hope the instructors will ask their students to that you've had in the past to come out. It's a good opportunity for the new towns also to have, you build a relationship, you're kind of like our ambassadors. And, they will be comfortable, coming out and meeting you there. We're always invited to the field day with rats at Laurel Park. And so I think, Will, do you plan to be there?
Yeah,
There, so, and, the ham radio chicks, Bruce, if you could, maybe they'll be interested in coming out there too. So it's a really good opportunity to help the new hams come out to the field day. Let's see.
Oh, pretty good, it stayed like to 5, 6 o'clock at night on Saturday.
I'll bring the shortwave list, DX and set up. And see if we can pick up any number stations that time.
So,
Don't get your hopes up.
Propagation.
Daryl, hopefully, I'm assuming Dave White will be there since he's with Rats, because I know for extra, it tends to be a little bit harder just because we have people who are pretty experienced. So maybe some of the newer folks with tech and general. So we can certainly talk about that. We're having a meeting with all our instructors coming up.
okay,
So I can bring that up as well.
I appreciate that. Let's see, what else? Anything coming up with the, any of the other clubs in the area? We just talked about Rats and Field Day. There's a club program. Rats is having a very interesting club program next week, from tonight. Lauren was telling me about that. I think do you know more about that, Will?
I don't, I can pull it up real quick.
It was, Laura was telling me that, there's a DDXG speaker having at the June meeting. Well, week tomorrow. And it's a team leader from the DX expedition in early 2026. And they wanted to invite the RARC club members too. So we can go to, is that it's a DDXG, so it's not RAT, it's DDXG. So we can go to the DDXG website and find the link. Is that a Zoom meetings, or is that in-person meetings?
That's Zoom, and I was actually gonna make an announcement about that.
Great. You can go on up and do this.
Okay, cool. You stole my thunder. No, something that's neat about that, that's Saturday, June 21st at 9 AM. And it's a DXpedition leader. If any of you guys are DXers. And like Daryl said, it's the Bouvet DXpedition, which is the call sign 3 Yankee 0 Kilo. And the leader, Caesar Trifu, his call sign is Victor Echo 3 Lima Yankee Charlie. He's gonna zoom in with us. So that's kind of a really special opportunity. If you guys ever chase DX, and those DXpeditions will go out and activate in different places, but it's special that one of their leaders is going to be with us. And that is a Zoom meeting, and all are welcome. We can send out the link through our channels. I can ask Ken to send that out, also post it on our website, but it is, our website is ddxg.net. So that is just really fun because Bouvet can be kind of rare. And it's special that we're having him talk about kind of what the process is to actually do something besides change your island, which is fun if you're a DXer. Our club has done that before, but someone who's an international person, that's pretty special. So,
Good, thank you.
absolutely.
Any other announcements?
Tomorrow is the ARRL VHF contest.
And if a lot of people have 6 meter capability, if you can get a signal out of 6 meters, it'd be a good day to try to get some activity. Yeah. There's a time of year where 6 meter propagation can be good. Depending on the propagation got, gonna get started at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. What frequency? 650 megahertz. So the entire. There you go.
So we can test my 6 meter.
You could. You could, that's all. You could probably hear somebody. Any other announcements? It's every home. I'm not sure it's the problem. Yeah. There any old business we need to discuss? Any new business? Back up a little bit. How's it, where is the, you're talking about the Peters, VHF and Peters, the Metropolitan Theater Association. Do they make any progress towards getting?
We've been given, 2 rolls of hard line, 7/8 hard. So brand new. Which is more than enough to do the job. I don't know when Brewers, I believe we've signed the, letter of intent there. It's a question of when the folks can find the power.
Okay, the contract.
We have the money, but if anybody has any money they'd like to contribute, because instead of $20-some hundred, it's gonna be 11,000.
Okay. That's gonna clean out the account again.
It's gonna clean the account out again, and people will give us some money, but there's no way it could have been foretold that hard line was breaking.
Okay.
And this time when it goes up, it's gonna be properly fast,
Okay.
so it ought to be good duration.
All right, good. Thanks for that update on the, what's it, the 4-5,
543.
543 with Peter. Good. Is there any show and tell? Rick? I don't know the name of these, but there's a guy up in Midwest somewhere, it's, Flatlanders American makes these antennas, and it's a roll up like this. And it's got a crank like that, it cranks it up. And I got 2 versions of it. One version is the, hit the halfway version that's got a 49-1 transformer in there. And this will work, 40 to 10 without a tuner. And this one is the in-fed non-resonant version, which is 71 feet long, and it will work 160 to 60 with a tune. So you can pick your poison, but you can line it up with the old back. Who manufactured that? There's a guy called Flatlanders American. I've seen. He makes, like I said, make motorcycle mirrors, things like that, but he's saying, prints these. But this one here has a 9-amp transformer. So I'm gonna try that next week. On the line, you're ready. Anybody else have any show and tell? Come on up. It's better to do them up front. So they'll pick you up when the microphone is through the door. The owls never found each other this evening. Yeah, they're.
Will and I swapped emails about working the ships last week. And don't know if anybody worked the ships, but there were only 106 of them out there. And in the event you could hear, you had to fight for it, as there were no freebies out there at all. Anyway, I worked 10 ships.
I worked 6.
Too great, it was 10 ships. I made another 8 or 10 extra contacts too, so the Lewiston Park Trail is having a Memorial Weekend, so I made a couple of contacts with the Park Trail. So it was a fun thing to do, and not like I don't have anything better to do. The radio is wonderful.
Thank you, Steve.
20 was just terrible, like we were both saying, which was interesting. Yeah, yeah, which is unfortunate because normally 20 is good, right? Well, except for the summer, apparently, except for the summer, according to you, but.
No, it's because the D layer and E layer are more items.
Right.
It's longer daylight. For the summer level every year.
But all the ships were on 20.
Well, I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
The age of fantasy.
right. Which is hard because that's when we all,
Opposite region.
right. And we all have time in the summer to play. So we need to talk to the sun.
Plus the sun has been misbehaving.
Right, exactly.
Any other show and tell? Tom?
Alex has something that's really, really interesting, considering what's going on in Israel right now.
Come on up, Alex. Oh, yes, sorry, yes. Recently, actually a couple of years ago, that I managed to pick up this component. It's X-band radar module, unflown, typically the exact same model, typically installed in the nose cone assembly of Patriot class missile. The problem is this one is bodged. This is an engineering sample, so it's not flight worthy, and I've practically given up on trying to figure out the pin out for this thing. But so I have no idea if it works, but it is an interesting specimen of SHF, or maybe even EHF radio engineering. Most of the body is, the entirety of it is the waveguide. There's a gun flexor and a detector diode in here, I expect. The aperture also doubles as a sort of microwave lens, so less than an inch wide. This is the transmitter and receiver assembly itself, used for probably targeting guidance. But I have no further data on it because, after all, the schematics are still classified. So
Interesting.
Thank you, Alex.
yes.
Any other show and tell? Any announcements? I have one, the Shenandoah Valley Amateur Radio Club, Berryville Hamfest is on for Sunday, August 3rd. And that'll be gates open at 6 a.m. and the vendor buildings open at 8 a.m. Berryville still a nice hamfest in this area. So if there are no other announcements or anything to discuss, do I have a motion to conclude the business portion of the meeting? So we got moved. Second, all in favor? Let's take a look. I've been in contact with John Ball, KN4 OLA, and he's involved in amateur pico weather balloons. And I thought that would be interesting to look at that with the camera link and that application, but he's also a scoutmaster, and his troop voted to go camp this weekend, so he had to jump out. Well, what came to mind is something that I've experienced lately. Is my wife and I built a house, and built this house last year. We signed a contract last March. And I had this antenna, and I looked into it's a 55+ community. It's an HOA, and although it's tricky how many fall, it's up there, Virginia Center Commons. Just north, right off Cedar Lane. You go north on Route 1, turn left on Cedar Lane, and those 465 homes are there off to your left. So I bought that antenna in 2015 and used it at the other house. Although I preferred a long wire from dipole antennas because they were broader, but that worked pretty good. I was having a lot of fun with that. So I decided, if I had to, I could rely on that. My aim now is just to stay connected to the property. It doesn't have to be the the high performance antenna, the towers and beams, that's, I'm not interested in building that, putting it together. So, in this neighborhood, right out of the gate, if you look at the HOA, I found that, antennas were allowed. Of course, I think they were thinking over the air TV or satellite dish with HOA approval. Why now, working with, the contractor, it's a boom construction, boom, and they're custom built, so you can you take their floor plan and you can make, changes. Just, whatever you want to do, it just follows the electric. So, and it can get out of hand. But, so as we were getting to the point of, saying, we probably build this house, we probably buy this house, I wanted to be sure that I get HOA approved. Actually, at that point, I said, I wanted the builder to ensure that I could, get it approved. Use the leverage the builder would have with the HOA, thinking that that builder might be even on the HOA board. The development is still, they're still working on the next two phases. So it's, the HOA is comprised of the, cornerstone, it's the contractor and the developer. And so you still have these, it's not turned over to the homeowners. You have a panel of, from the builder and the, developers. So I wanted approval for that. Go to the document there. Look at the document. So I remember when Vin did his presentation on the antenna that he put up in his neighborhood and the, what document that would be the other, this is the link, I'll put this link at the top. The,
Not that.
yeah, that's the link to the comment there. The addendum. So this was, this is text. Can we make that a little bit larger?
Yeah, just let me. Stop sharing this one, but I'm
So I remember we were talking about it, and I believe that origins of that text were from an ARRL article that an attorney had prepared, and that was, the article was about, HOAs and, what, you might consider having to,
okay. We'll get your attention.
what you would consider. So I got a copy of that draft, and I made my changes to it, but had my attorney look at it, and we submitted it to the building. And basically, I filled in the details about, myself and the builder, and then buyer has informed seller that the buyer is an amateur radio operator licensed by the FTC. Seller agreed to obtain homeowner association or similar committee from whom permission is required for installation of buyer community antenna. Factor one. And I attached that picture of that antenna installed at the other house. And support structure and basically, cost, so grant or cost promptly granted such permission on application by buyer. So I mean, when I sign a purchase agreement, that antenna is approved. Now, I've just made the antenna approval. The sale of the house was contingent on the approval of the antenna. So, and I would be received that, and if I didn't get that approved, then signing the contract, I could rescind my purchase of the house. Typically, when you sign a contract like that, you have 3 days to step away, you decide, so. But, you scroll down. So I showed you, here's my license, and I scroll down. And here's the picture of that same antenna installed on the other house. So, I talked to my realtor, and I said, we're getting close, I don't want to spring this on them at the last minute. So we submitted it to, said, give it to me, I'll run with it, get with the sales manager for building homes. And so And then a few weeks later, we sat together to review the purchase agreement and contract. And I said, you know, what about the antenna? I really want to get that in the contract. And so they'd already been in touch with the HOA and they really didn't want to do it that way. They prepared the application. They told me then, we have preliminary approval. They have no objections about it. And they approved for two reasons. They didn't find the appearance to be objectionable. And there's nobody behind me. If you go to the other picture, the view of the front rear of the house, you would jump to the other fire. The
original one that we started with.
no, not of the antenna, but the looking from my house out to the meadow behind.
Oh, there.
View from rear. So they're not going to complain.
It's not here yet, so they can't see it yet, but oh, here it is.
Yeah. So for those two reasons, the HOA, you know, I had no problem with that. And the builder, so you sign the purchase agreement here Saturday afternoon, sign the purchase, and you have an extended period of time to rescind the purchase. You don't get the approval. They said it was preliminary. You've got a preliminary. My reply was, what does that really mean? Final. That's what it really means. Somebody, and it could be any of the three people on board may say, I don't know anything about that. I'm just not signing off. They did not want to do it for any reason. So, but the Dorothy Mitchell, vice president of Boone, called the HOA Monday morning by 10 o'clock on Monday. I had approval for that antenna. She sent me an email. Here's your approval. And thank you for the purchase of the house. So, so that was, you know, that's how that process. And I, you know, I really took the HOA's position very seriously. You know, they had the ultimate say, and you can, when you sign up and buy a house, when you sign the conditions that you're subject to their, you know, your stipulations and conditions inside in the covenants. So you really don't have, you don't have any recourse there. So I took it seriously, got it. And then that was, I moved in the house in December, January, we were installing, we were installing a fence, and the guys installing a fence, put the post in the ground, we just drove it down 4 foot, 12 foot post, driven 4 foot in the ground, 8 foot, put the antenna on top of it. It's right, that's about maximum height you want to install that lift. You could be 6 foot, but 8 foot as well. So I thought a little higher would be better. Out of reach, and then reading probably in March, April, reading some minutes. And this is a pretty active community because we have multiple, you have Chickahominy Falls, but it's made up of little divisions, little groups of houses inside the 4 or 5. You have the common areas, you have the farmhouses, a meeting house we all have access to, the pool, pond, and a lot of things going on, a lot of meetings, a lot of folks involved in minutes are coming out. I just happened to sit down and read some minutes, communications there, and amateur radio antenna is one of the topics that's discussed at one of these HOA board meetings. And concerns have been raised about an amateur radio antenna that appears to be installed, appears to be in compliance. And that was all that was really said. And I said, somebody around here, I don't think it is. Somebody around here, was taken aback from the antenna installation. They didn't think it was a thing of art. So I got to, although I have the HOA, on my side, I did that in part. But I suspected, from me, the street goes around a slight bend and goes around the curve this way. So somebody on the side who would have to come out of the house, turn their head and look for it, saw the antenna, didn't know what was going on.
So this little bit right here is the edge of the road.
No, that's a particular protected area back there. And when we have a lot of rain, the springs will come up and we'll have water flowing continuously for several days after we have rain. So it ties in out there by the Chickahominy River. So they're really careful about, the development has to take care of how they're dealing with the
Water jet.
runoff. So, but I thought about that and said, there could be a safety issue here. There might be some concerns about safety. So I thought I need to prepare myself, for a conversation with one of these neighbors. Now to reassure, that everybody's okay with this. Maybe they don't like the looks of it, but certainly safe. It's certainly safe. So if we could go to that calculator, that link, the other document, we pulled up with the link.
You want to follow the link?
Yeah, let's follow the link. Let's open that up, go to that calculator. It's this is the ARRL market exposure calculator. And you go to, the ARRL.com. You just Google market exposure and you can get this page. And
I'm going to share this.
okay. So we get to this page and then, this government, it's how many years ago was it that the FCC requires us now to be aware of our exposure. And I found this is important if you live in a neighborhood and you might have somebody who might be concerned about that. You want to have a conversation real quick, show them what the risks really are or not. So, of course, and I found this, and it's printable, you can fill it out. You can go to power antenna. Most of us have radios that, 100 watts, so we can enter 100. There. Then we go down single sideband, just the basic single sideband, no speed processing. Antenna gain is for dipole. I'm using the blue, but it has a little bit of directivity. It wouldn't have the typical gain of a dipole, less than a gain, but I can, since it has some directivity, I use 2.15. That's the same as a dipole. Okay, and operating frequency. Let's start at 40 meter band. That antenna is good from 40 to 10 meters. So I put, put 7,200 megahertz. Seven dot two or maybe seven, so it'll be 7.2 meg. Calculate. Then we can scroll down. And they'll tell us, the power density, the compliance distance is measured in feet. Can you all read that? So the compliance distance is 0.5877 feet. So at 6 inches, just say 6 inches away from it. It's of course. And the now that's the minimum compliance distance. And then if we go down to it, you go also in meters, and then that's when we're uncontrolled environment. So you have a controlled and uncontrolled environment. So it's moderately controlled. It's I got the fence around the lot. It's also in view. I don't see. I'm sitting in that room. Just the antenna's just outside, and I always see if anybody's approaching the antenna. So it's controlled. Nobody wants to just walk into it, but even if it's uncontrolled, that somebody can inadvertently get access to it. Point 8 feet.
Round it up to a foot.
Just keep your hands off of it. Yes. But you can look at the other extreme. It's interesting to look at 10 meter band. We go back and look at erase 7.2, put in 2. Oh no, it's go to 28, 28.45.
those backdoor neighbors of yours can be kind of pesky.
Yeah. And so, you have 100 lots, the minimum compliance distance now is 2.3 feet. So that's the,
Explain the difference between compliance and non-compliance.
the minimum,
Yeah,
so you're under the minimum compliance, that we have 50 meters, but you have the two different results, for uncontrolled and controlled environments. And I understand that as accessibility. If somebody can inadvertently,
that's the uncontrolled.
that would be
And control is for yourself and your family. So they don't care if you hurt yourself, because you know what happened.
right.
This is somebody who,
A member of the individual public, you know, it's similar to, working at a nuclear plant. Those, employees, because they are monitored and they know what they're doing there, they know that job, they can get a higher dose of radio activity. But that higher dose doesn't mean there's any health risk goes along with it. It's just, they're allowed to get, and because they're carrying those symmetry bags with them all the time, and they're monitored, closely monitored, so. But an individual member of the public, that would you or I, we wouldn't be allowed to get that dose. True, that's it.
questions. I remember several years ago, somebody brought up that you were gonna keep the paper logs, so if the FCC did ever come to your shack, they would look for that, and you had to have it, is that correct?
I think, I remember reading something similar to that. There was an expectation, you can print that out. What I'll just, and they'll give you a nice printout and sheet, so you can print that for each band that you would operate, Gene.
Yeah, when that really came up, was that 3 or 4 or 5 years ago?
Right.
That's what it said, so you know, I did it, I will away, I don't know where it is now, but it's somewhere.
Yeah, that's it. You would think that, you know, I mean, it's not likely that you're gonna get a visit from the FCC, they want to see the survey. But it prepared me.
Yeah.
That's what it's really about, important. It prepared me to have a conversation with any of the neighbors that had any kind of concerns about it. That had a lot of value. Here's the here's how it's calculated, and here's the risk.
Yeah, the other thing is, so whoever did that presentation back then, there was a site that you could go to on the web and find out where your house is, and you can watch the measurements. I remember that site now.
Yeah, I think that might have been Google Earth. I think,
Yeah,
Bruce
Well,
McAllister was
But
doing.
I found a site that you could enter multiple antennas. You could have multiple radios, for that matter, different power levels for each frequency. You can add your cable, maybe the loss that went through our cable, how long connected we have along the way. That type of information, so it's much more detailed than this, but it would then give you a printout page. Give you a report, if you can download the data, keep it on your machine if you wanted, or print the report page. And if you, for all the frequencies that you operate on and maximum frequencies, how far away do people, the part that's really important is it's the uncontrolled person, so how far away do they have?
Yeah, that's like, when I did it, so I did, that, it's what from my house, I could get a measurement to the nearest house. From where my antenna was, in all directions. So, and I just have that, as part of the documentation, which I probably can't find.
Yeah, when the FCC changed, it used to be that we had, after it had an exemption, and somebody, why did they get one? And so they took it away. When they did that, they said, you had to do it for every radio you have, including your handheld. Okay, which was like 5 watts a million. I haven't even, but that was the whole thing. They changed. Somebody didn't like the fact that after you got it.
Do you have another question?
Yeah, that sounds great. If we had access to something like that, but do you have any idea
where you can find that?
Yes, on my own computers. I will send, I can send every member of the club as to the website. Basically, you put in, not the name of your equipment, but how much power, how long the cables are. And all that does is shorten the distance, because that's lots that's taken out. And then you have, for mine, I had at the time, 3 different antennas that I could operate. One was a J pole for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. That antenna was separated. I had 2 other antennas that I could use. Well, 6 meter on 2 of them. There's one with a beam, and then the other one handled all each other frequencies. And it a little more cumbersome than this to enter that data, but it's rather straightforward. I think most people can do it. When I taught it in the classes for tech, I would give them, here's my configuration as an example. Do not try to change it in the form that you upload. Change it once it gets there, but it gives you a way to enter it, look at it, and see what you get.
Is that good until you make some change, like add a new radio?
Add a new radio, buy that amplifier. And if you did, for that site that I was talking about, you just say, hey, my radio now has the capability of running at 1,500 watts. And when I did it for myself, I had like 2 radios. I did one at maximum 1,500 watts for every frequency through every antenna. Just to see, okay, if I ever did it, how far would I have to be? And basically, my antennas were up a little higher than his. And it turned out that as long as you stayed at least your height away from the antenna, it was good, because it was both of it getting down to the ground was more than enough for most people. But if you were like 7 foot tall, you had to stay a little bit away. And that's at full power.
Okay, did you have to do yours for each antenna?
Yes. For each frequency, for each antenna. As they say, this site did it all at one time, 3 radio. Yeah, for each radio, for each antenna, for power in the whole.
You're not required to by the FCC, but what it's doing is making.
No, you are required.
I thought you were.
You are required now to have a copy.
No, I mean, the way that Ken's website does it, because I was a student. You have to do it for each radio. But by inputting all that information, you're basically giving yourself more leeway. Because when you like, for example, when you calculate it for each like coax and each feed, that accounts for all the loss.
Yeah.
So you technically only have to do it for each radio.
Well,
That's the old.
for each radio, for each antenna.
So you could do it this way.
You can do it this way. This
Right.
way, this is slightly higher than reality.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but if you do it this way, then that's a lot of paperwork. Yours sounds much easier
Oh,
once
right.
you get it all in.
It's very
I'll
self-explanatory.
and find it, as I say, I have to say, I'll send it out to all.
Yeah, appreciate that.
In addition to this website, I'll document this one also.
We could link it too.
So it's just, as I say, to me, it was a very easy way to input it.
I think I saw something like that before, because it asked all those questions.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to find it since.
I'll send it, as I say, look forward. Look forward by Monday.
That's fine. That answers all my questions, because I was gonna ask you, did we have to do a paper like that for each frequency, for each radio, for every watt that you could do it, or would you just say, okay, I've got a 1,500 watt amplifier, just do it for 1,500 watts period, and that would cover everything below?
Worst case.
Yeah.
You can do it for worst case scenario.
Yeah,
That would satisfy everyone.
okay, and that has to stay on file, is that right?
Yeah, you want to put them in every file
Okay,
that you can find it.
not that it's ever gonna happen, but just in case.
Very unlikely if that ever happened.
Basically, somebody would have to really raise a major complaint to the FCC to you
I've been
about
watching
you.
some of these videos lately, and it seems like the FCC is stepping up and starting to take some action. Whether they're gonna back anything up that they threatened to do is another story. I
It's,
don't know.
as I said, I truly wouldn't expect to have a knock on the door and say, where is it? But I would rather have it be a folder.
Yeah, that's kind of my position. I'd rather have it somewhere
Then have a scramble,
that
come up,
never needed and not have it.
you know, really needed.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Well, the rest of the story is, I'm wondering who complained. And so we have gatherings, it's a farmhouse, so it's a community center in our development, gathering. It's new construction, not an old farmhouse, it's new construction, it's built for, a large group to get together. And, I tell you, it must be one of the neighbors, on one of the sides, I bet it could be this guy, it, could be Jim and Meredith, maybe it's Jim and Meredith, so, went over there, sat at their table. And, so we spoke to him, introduced myself, we hadn't been there that long, and, I have to tell you, it's, that didn't sound that, did you get that, did you get that approved? I said, yeah, that was no problem, I was pretty easy getting that. So I have to tell you, I wrote to the HOA, I know Frank. Yeah, and he's not only the HOA, but he's also one of the developers. And I have to tell you what he said. He said, can we drop it? So the HOA was on my side, because I did, my due diligence, to get everything documented properly. And, I told him, well, if the house pushes the house, and it's contingent with that, but I was serious about that. And, and I said, you did buy a house in a neighborhood that allows that tenancy. And so and he went on to talk about it, and he was nice about it, I think they just was surprised, taken it back, a little bit when they first saw it, never saw anything like that. But then he said, my dad was a trade operator all his life, and he loved it.
And then it's got a complaint.
Yeah. But it's okay.
They call it male Karen.
And so, unfortunately, that's her. So that's how it is. I'm not having any other problems like that. But I wanted to prepare myself, and I thought that was good to have that be ready with that survey, and for the purpose of showing, reassuring. I think it was a totally appearance issue. And he doesn't face my house, he faces across the street, and there's a large circle with a lot of houses over there. So what if they stole, 10 or 15 antennas over there? Jim, it's not gonna happen. There's only 700,000 of us across the country. You might get one other in here, but usually the tend to stay out where they can have larger antennas, not only down here. Not likely. So, but you might get it. So there may be some modifications in the future to the covenants. I don't know, but I'm covered.
So you don't think they would let you put them down?
No, and I don't want to. I'm pretty happy with that. That's at this stage of my life. I just want to stay connected to the hobby. Any questions? Comments? That's all I have for tonight. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate it.
See, next week we'll be getting on the air, so it'll be, again, our focus is on the new camps. So we'll have Dave and Tom will set up stations here for 20 and 40 meters. Tom will have Dave will have his, I think he has a 40-meter antenna on his truck. So we'll run a feed line in here and have a station in here, and there's the 20-meter.
I need operators, 7,300.
Yes, so we'll,
Anybody familiar with that as well? They put I don't know how well that 20 meter, dipole's gonna work, so I've got a 10 foot long wire,
Fine, okay. And then, that'll be July, and then August, we've got John do, slow scan TV. All right, have a good evening.
Okay.